are a true testament of strength in that regard. I know we mentioned that before, but that's what I see when I listen to your testimony is the true strength. The Apostle Paul talked about he would rejoice in his weaknesses, for he knew where he was weak, he was strong. And he would boast about that instead of boasting about the things that he accomplished. And that's what I'm hearing, listening to how God has given you grace and strength to handle this misfortune in a way that truly helps you become a light to others. Usually we associate being a light with what we wear and the car we drive and how much money we're making, and we call that being blessed. And in some ways that is, but I'm seeing a different type of blessed listening to this testimony, and it's inspiring. The last thing I want to share, and I'll let Shauna continue, it reminds me of Christ's suffering on the cross. We know that he could have come down. He talked about how he had servants that if he called them, they would come to his aid and he would not suffer. So to actually stay on the cross was itself a demonstration of strength in the midst of his suffering. And that's what I see when I listen to you. I see the strength of Christ to continue moving forward despite the reality.
Thank you.
And Cortland, you really summed it up, because to see how God would have to continue to be with someone who deals with this type of pain, because and Tonya will tell you, as she said, she said she wasn't mad at God, and even those of us who are of faith were like, you sure you weren't, because this is tough, and asking the why questions, that her faith is strong, but still. Tonya, I want to ask you, after this occurred, this was a horrible type of thing for it to happen. You really could have turned inward, but as Cortland said, you turned to helping others, and you continued your work in social work. And not only are you doing that, you wrote a book, Mommy's Bright Sunshine. So I'm curious. Tell me how that book came about. What about this situation made you say, what I need to do is write a book? Tell me about that process.
Sure. So Kayla was actually still on life support, and her father, my husband at the time, we were headed back to the hospital. But that morning, I actually sat down in the living room. I had lit some candles. I had put her pictures around me, because I guess I just kind of knew that might be the day that we were going to have to decide about turning off the life support. And I was going to write a letter to her, but the first thing that I wrote on a piece of paper was Mommy's Bright Sunshine. And so I really, again, thought that I was going to write a letter. It was going to be, Mommy loves you, Mommy's going to miss you, things like that. But really what started to come forth was a poem. So I just started writing. We got to the hospital. The doctors had said that, the little brain activity she had failed. And so we had to make a decision about what time to turn off the life support. So she was born at 6:53 a.m. So I said, let's turn it off at 6:53 p.m. So we took turns spending individual time with her. And so I started to read, the poem to her during my individual time, which I later read at her homegoing service. And then after, she was buried, I didn't want to forget any details. So I started to flesh that out, and it was going to be a journal. But then the journal just sort of continued to morph into a book. But just to let people know, it actually took me 16 years to write the book, not because it was so emotionally difficult, and it was, yes. But again, I had 2 children after that. Life kind of got in the way, but I started to get to the point where I believe that God was pushing me to finish the book, because I started to feel that I was being disobedient. So I sat down and I was like, I just need to finish this. And so what started out as a letter turned into a poem, turned into a journal, turned into a book. And so my book was published November 2013. And so Mommy's Bright Sunshine is the result of what, started while she was still connected to life support.
And so as someone who's had the pleasure of reading the book, is this book only for parents of someone who's lost a child? Who do you think this book could speak to?
Well, the book certainly is my testimony of my experience, Kayla's experience. Yes. However, I've had people to read it who have not experienced the death of a child, and I've actually had people to read it who are not parents. And again, all of us have gone through challenges. And so people have told me, and I sincerely believe it's true, that it can be an example of moving beyond difficulties. So you can get some hope from moving beyond whatever the experience has been. Because grief and loss is much greater than simply death.
Yeah. Hope. And that's big for Cortland and I. And as we get ready to bring this to a close, I want to thank you so much, Tonya, for being with us. We do want our listeners to know that Mommy's Bright Sunshine is available where you buy books. You can get it on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and it's Mommy's, Mommie, Mommy's Bright Sunshine. And this is Tonya Logan. And so if folks wanted to connect with you, find out a little bit more about the work that you do, or have, interest in you sharing their story at maybe their organization or event, what's the best way for folks to get in contact with you?
Well, my email address is kaylasvillage@aol.com.
That's awesome. kaylasvillage@aol.com. And we'll drop that in the chat box as well to do that, because I just think, and we just got a chance to touch on it today and hear that, but your story is really a story of resilience and strength and God's grace through all of this for what could be a horrible type of time. So thank you so much for being with us. Cortland, you want to bring this in for us?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier how listening to Tonya, I see the strength of Christ, the strength that was depicted and demonstrated in the crucifixion. I see resilience, as you speak of. One of the things I learned in my faith walk as one who suffered divorce and abuse as a child, molestation, this faith walk grace, I have learned, is not just about God giving us good things that we don't deserve, because that's usually how I heard grace described. And though that is true, I have since learned that grace is also God extending us beyond ourselves and exceeding our limitations. And I don't see how someone like Tonya could continue to do all the things that she's doing in the face of that loss. I'm at the point now where a simple prayer is, God, I need you. God, I want you. I need your help today. There used to be a time where I would go through this litany of things to say to satisfy this, responsibility to pray. And it has become more personal now, and it has become more simplified to the point where sometimes I'm not even saying anything because he knows what I need. I'm just sitting there in the company of his presence, recognizing this is what I need. If there's anything I need right now, is your presence. And Moses spoke of that. So in closing, that's what I would share. In Exodus 33, Moses said, Lord, if you don't go with us, then I'd rather not go. And I think that's where we all get to when we start to experience the reality of this life. Jesus said, in this world, you will have troubles, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. I need the one that overcame the world to go with me, Because if I don't have his presence with me, and I say this to the Lord, I won't make it. I don't know how long you intend to have me on this earth, but I've been on earth long enough to know I won't make it without you. I need you. And now I'm starting to learn how to say I want you too. It's funny how I spent the entire day really not doing anything. And I think it had to do more with preparing mentally for the reality of doing this recording. So instead of me having a last word, Shauna, I really would like for you to share your thoughts on what I just shared and the fact that we had Tonya on this show.
Well, then I can't follow that. After that, it's just time for the benediction and we go on home. But as you said, God gives us the strength to do what he's called us to do. And there's so many times where we're like, God, I can't do this. So you're right. God, I need you. God, I can't do this without you. And you said it best. And I think, Tonya, you have really been an amazing example of how God can pour into your life and just take you through even what something people would think is unthinkable. So my prayer is that this recording has been a blessing, has been something that helps to restore my soul, God, like it says in Psalm 23, that this episode has been a source of restoration for somebody, a source of healing for someone. And so again, Tonya, thank you so much for being with us. Do you have anything that you want to close out with us before we end this episode of Village Talk?
No, I'm certainly grateful to you all. I'm also grateful to God for the opportunity, because we know that he orchestrated all of this before Kayla was even conceived. So this is all part of his plan. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Amen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we really do hope that you have been blessed and benefited from the testimony shared by Tonya Logan. As always, we appreciate those who are able to come and join us, as Shauna say, on the couch to share their thoughts, their views. We highlight the voices and views of the community. We are Village Talk. And of course, we always want to express our appreciation for those who support us. And also our sponsor. We want to thank Vision and Purpose Lifestyle Magazine and Media, co-owned by Karen McConnell-Jones and Dr. Sharon Porter, without whom we would not be able to do what we do at Village Talk. So we thank you. And Shauna, as always, thank you for your friendship, your support, being always my co-host.
Yeah, always a pleasure. We look forward to these times together, Cortland. Thank you so much for being with me.
So take care, ladies and gentlemen, and we look forward to seeing you again on the fourth Sunday in December.
Thank you for joining Village Talk Podcast with hosts Cortland Jones and Shauna Felton King. Village Talk is a VMP media production. Join us every second and fourth Sunday at 4:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a new episode. Village Talk, highlighting the views and voices of the community.